What's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to Track Walk episode number 51 in MX Simulator. And today I'm going to take a spin around the 2015 Paris-Lille Supercross track, which is essentially the replacement track to Bercy, which they went to Lille 2 years ago, I think, and they've been going. I mean, they went last year, they're going to go again this year. It's a bigger stadium than Bercy. The Bercy Stadium used to, I don't know how long the event was housed in the Bercy Stadium, but it was like an arena cross like size stadium. It was a very small, I mean, it was an arena, it wasn't a stadium. So they went here, and now they have a bigger track, and this track was made in sim quite some time ago, actually. I think over a month ago now, by a guy named Fox Riders, and he said it was his second ever release, so it's really not like super special or anything. I would say that, like, in terms of being well done and raceable, it's not really on a good level, but it does show off the track, and that's something that I wanted to do since the Paris-Lille Supercross is coming up this weekend. And as usual with the Paris-Lille and or Paris-Bercy Supercross, there is a host of American riders that are going there to compete. Last year, I believe it was Eli Tomac that won both nights, but he is obviously not going to be there since he's still recovering from his shoulder injuries. He just got back on the bike on his new Monster Energy Kawasaki about 2.5 weeks ago now, was his first ride. So he's just trying to get himself into working shape to be ready for Anaheim 1. But there are still going to be a lot of Americans there, as I said. Probably the biggest name that you'll see there is James Stewart. It was announced this week that even though Stewart is not going to race the Australian Supercross Open, which is on November 28th and 29th, even though he said he would, he is still going this weekend to race Lille, Paris-Lille Supercross. And so all the initial reports of Stu not going to Australia because his wrist is still hurt are lies, because he would not be racing Lille this weekend if his wrist was still bothering him enough, obviously, and if he felt that there was any detriment to race this, so he would not be ready for Anaheim 1. So the real report of why he's not going to that Australian Supercross deal, I've heard, is because he just feels that the race is too close to Anaheim 1, and he wants to make sure that he's going to be healthy and all this stuff like that. And it's really an unfortunate situation. The promoters of the Australian Supercross event, I guess, have come to the United States in hopes to try to maybe talk James back into going there or something like that. From what I've understood, this is the third different occasion now where Stewart has promised to go to Australia to race a race and has backed out of said attempt at race. And so I would imagine most Aussies are pretty pissed at this point. I know a lot of them are, just by seeing Facebook comments and forum board comments and stuff like that. And you know, I'm not one to completely diss Stewart, but I can understand the Australian and New Zealanders and all their frustration with the situation, because a lot of them don't have the funds necessary to come to the United States to see James Stewart race in person. And let's be honest, Stewart is a ticking clock, if you will. His career is not going to last that much longer. He's already into his 30s now, and he's had a pretty up and down past 6 years of his career. After he won that Supercross championship in 2009, he hasn't won a thing since. So it's kind of, you know, pick your poison on how much longer he's going to be around. We obviously see that Reed is probably on his last leg, maybe going into his last Supercross season, and those Australian fans, they wanted to see Stewart, and they would have seen Stewart versus Reed. And on top of that, Reed is still slated to go and race that event in his home land, Australia. And so Stewart not being there, I mean, it really sucks. And, you know, I feel bad, and to the people that say, like, well, wouldn't you rather see him ready for Anaheim 1? Like, yeah, sure, I would. I'm American, though. I get to see him ride all the time. I get to see him ride in person a lot. So it's not anything special for me to see him ready and perfectly prepared for Anaheim 1. You know, that's just what I've come to be accustomed to, going to the opening round for the past 5 years and all that nonsense. So it's, you know, normal for me to see Stewart healthy racing, and I've seen him like that his whole career. But my point is that the Aussies have not And that's an unfortunate situation again where he is committed to go, and then last minute, I mean, there's only 2.5 weeks to go before that race, he has decided to back out, which again, I mean, it just kind of sucks all around. I'm sure Stewart doesn't feel good about the decision to back out. I'm sure he wants to keep those fans in Australia happy, but in his circumstance, after getting hurt at the Monster Cup and probably having to take a few weeks off of training and stuff, he just doesn't want to have that situation happen again, and that's understandable. However, I just think that if you're in Stewart's shoes and you know well in advance how long it's going to be between that Australian Supercross and the opening round in January, I mean, he announced he's going to do that event 4 or 5 months ago. And he could have easily then, when he was asked to do it, said, no, it's too close to Anaheim. But now he waits until 2.5 weeks before the event to say no. So, I mean, that's really my beef with it. It's not that he's not going, because I kind of figured from day one when they announced it that he wasn't going to. This happens a lot where, someone's slated to show up and they don't. But my beef is that he waited so long to tell people, or that he even told anybody he was going at all, because he could have made it a more or less surprise and waited until a month out and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to go. But he didn't do that. So unfortunate all the way around for that. But we do still get to see him race Paris-Lille this weekend, which is a 2-night event on the 13th and 14th. It's going to be streamed on some sort of French television. I don't know specifically the details of that yet, but I will be watching the broadcast online, I'm sure, and maybe we'll post a link to that on our Twitter feed or something like that in case you guys are wondering where to watch. Obviously, because it's in France, it'll be on the daytime on Friday and Saturday, and like right in the midday for the people in the United States. So if you got really nothing going on that day, you can surf around and find the link yourself. Or like I said, if we come across it sooner rather than later, we will probably post it so you guys can see that as well. But Stewart, again, not the only American that will be there this weekend. There's also guys like, just went over the bars. I'm trying to look down at this list. Cooper Webb will be there. Stewart's brother Malcolm, Weston Pike, and Shane McElrath. Well, McElrath actually has to pull out now. I was just looking at the entry list, but McElrath broke his wrist this week, so McElrath will be out. He should be set to go for Supercross, at the very least be ready to go for East, and I'm assuming since TLD is now the factory KTM 250 team, they will field a 250 East team, which they haven't done in the past, but who knows. Either way, McElrath only supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and we're still 7.5 weeks now away from the opening round at Anaheim, so he'll be fine, I'm sure. Just bummer that he's going to miss a lot of time training. But anyway, still going to see Webb, the Stewart brothers, and Pike this weekend. No Justin Barcia, which I think is kind of strange. Barcia tends to want to go race Bursey. He has in the past. I keep saying Bursey, but it's Lily now. And it would have fit me so well because being episode 51 of Track Walk and Barcia, a former winner of the Paris-Bercy Supercross, it would have been fitting to talk about him in that aspect, but he's not going, I guess. Just his teammate Weston Pike is going. So those are the Americans, but one thing I'm kind of excited to see is your 2015 motocross world champion Roman Febvre is actually going to be racing this weekend, which from my understanding is his first go at Supercross. French riders tend to be pretty dang good at Supercross, but Febvre himself I don't believe has ever competed in Supercross. He's competed in Supermoto events, but never Supercross, and I'm really excited to see how he does. I saw some testing videos of him this week, mainly working on his whoops, and it's fair to say that he's probably pretty new to whoops because he doesn't look too good in them, but as you can see from this track that we're riding, there is only one whoop section, and it doesn't have any jumps or anything on either side of it, so that would probably be his one detriment. Otherwise, Febvre is a very talented rider for sure, and he should be competitive. On top of that, French guys also have guys like Jordi Tixier, last year's MX2 world champion, Dylan Ferrandis, who's coming back from injury. Let's see, they also have, I'm just looking down again real quick. They have Fabien Isouard, Cedric Subirras, Xavier Boug. Man, I'm just riding through the whoops looking down. Valentin Tellier, he's a really good guy. So that's some of the French dudes. Oh, Porcel's supposed to be there this weekend, which is pretty neat. Porcel now a full-time United States rider on that factory Rockstar Husqvarna team. Signed a 2-year deal at the end of this year to stick with that team for 2 more years. So we'll see Porcel back in the States for Supercross for the first time in 5 years. Yeah, because the last time he was here was 2010. I'm pretty sure when he won his second 250 East Lights Championship. So that's pretty cool that Porcel, a 2-time Lights Supercross champion, will be out there next year. But again, like I said, he'll be there this weekend, as will a lot of other French riders. It looks like Sean Simpson is slated to ride, the British rider. They've also got Valentin Guillot set to go. So it should be a good lineup of riders this weekend. I think it's pretty safe to say that Supercross-wise, the Americans are going to kind of manhandle it, if you will. I think Porcel is probably France's best chance at having a guy run up front, just because he's probably the most talented of the group that I listed in Supercross. I mean, there's a lot of French Supercross champions there, but none of those French Supercross champions have ever come to the States and done anything really successful. Iswa raced for Monster Energy Kawasaki a few years back, but I mean, he just wasn't that great, didn't really ever do anything special, and I think he was even a fill-in for Weimer, who was hurt half the time. So again, Porcel probably going to be the best French rider, best non-American rider, if I could guess. So I would assume it's going to be a good shootout between like the Stewart brothers and Webb, if I could take a guess. I don't think Pike is quite up to speed in Supercross as those guys for sure. But Webb has certainly been killing it. He just won the, what's it called, the Genova Supercross last weekend, and that was in Switzerland. So Webb definitely on his game of late, having gone over and done quite well in Japan, and then came over and he raced, like I said, he raced Genova and won that. So Webb should be the closest competitor to Stewart in my imagination, but you know, James Stewart is James Stewart, and I think if he comes out and rides like James Stewart knows how to ride, he should have a good chance at winning both nights of racing in Paris-Lille. So that's my take on this weekend. I'm excited to see the racing again, more racing before the season gets underway in a month and a half, like I said. So always excited to see that. And yeah, it's my 2 cents. So this track, as you can see, definitely not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but still a fun track to ride. Did a couple, maybe 10 laps on a server with a couple dudes a few nights ago on the track just to get used to it, so I could do this video for y'all. And yeah, so now I'm just spinning some laps on it for you guys. One thing I want to mention before this track walk is done, on Monday I did announce that we will be doing a live stream tonight, which is Wednesday. We're going to basically show you guys front to back how to build a track in MX Simulator, and tonight will be the first hour and a half roughly of building said track. So really it's going to be a pretty chilled stream. I got myself some alcoholic beverages this afternoon to sit back and chill and start working on the track. And I'll just be sitting in TeamSpeak probably with a couple dudes and building a track from scratch. And anybody who shows up to the stream is more than welcome to give every and any kind of feedback they want. And I'll post the stream on YouTube afterwards, obviously, as a tutorial video, so that you guys can as well provide feedback if you weren't there for the stream itself. But if you are there live, that's great, because then I can make changes on the fly. Like I said, tonight's going to be pretty chill because I'm just getting started, so not too much of like the track building will go on. I'm just going to try to get a lot of the stuff that I need for the track in game, and then we'll start working on that. That stream will probably start at roughly 7 p.m. Pacific, so 10 Eastern, and that's 9 Central, 8 Mountain Time, just for everybody in the United States' sake. For anybody outside of the United States, it's an hour later than when RF would normally start, which is 6 p.m. Eastern, or 6 p.m. Pacific, sorry. So if you're gonna watch from across the pond on either side of us, that's how you can measure your time. I will be doing like a pre-stream, if you will, because I'm going to do an elimination race tonight. This elimination championship's going on in MX Simulator, and I missed the first round 2 nights ago, and my friend Casey Ollard is running that series, so I figured I should show up to it since he basically just signed me up for the series. And elimination races are pretty fun, and they're like the only real racing of any kind going on in Sim right now since the off season is really taking shape. So I'll do like a pre-stream of me racing that and just hanging out in TeamSpeak and having a good time, and you guys can show up and blab and whatnot. And then we'll get the actual stream where I engage with the fans and all that stuff going on after that's over. Start building the track, get through an hour and a half, roughly 2 hours of it tonight, and then we'll break and meet next week on the track building project. Not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but we'll find out tonight. Hope to see you guys there. I'm going to finish this lap, the 18th lap, riding around Paris-Lille in France. And yeah, hope to see you guys tonight. If you like this video, as per usual, please just bung it a like. Give me a comment on what your thoughts are on it. And of course, subscribe if you aren't already to the channel. Lots of cool content that we like to put out on the daily. So please subscribe if you haven't. And if you're looking for the track download, it is in the description below. So thanks for watching Track Walk episode number 51, guys. For Kellen, we will see y'all later.